Political violence is on the rise, and that's bad news for democracy. We need to address this issue urgently to protect our democratic values. Look, nobody likes a broken system. When people feel their voices aren't being heard, frustration builds up. From heated protests to attacks on government institutions, the escalation is alarming. It's clear something is deeply wrong. The social fabric is tearing apart. This isn't just about a few bad apples. It's a systemic issue that needs addressing. When people feel unheard, they become more susceptible to extremist views. This is dangerous for society. We need to understand the root causes of political violence and address them. Dialogue and understanding are key, because if we don't, we risk losing the very freedoms that make democracy worth fighting for. Our future depends on it. From the US Capitol to the streets of Europe, violence is shaking democratic societies. Remember January 6, 2021, a mob storming the US Capitol, fueled by lies about a stolen election. In France, violent protests over pension reforms and economic inequality. In Germany, a rise in far-right extremism and attacks on immigrants. It's a stark reminder that democracy is fragile and requires constant vigilance. What's driving this surge in political violence? Let's break it down. There's no single cause, but we can point to a few key factors. First, political polarization. It's like we're living in two different realities, each side with its own set of facts. Then there's the influence of social media, creating echo chambers that reinforce extreme views. And let's not forget economic inequality, making people feel left behind and more susceptible to radical ideologies. These factors combined create a volatile environment. Let's face it, folks, politics has always been a contact sport. It's a battleground where ideas clash and passions run high. But somewhere along the way, it turned into a full-blown cage match, with no holds barred and no room for compromise. We demonize those who disagree with us, painting them as not just wrong but evil, as if they are the enemy. This kind of polarization makes it nearly impossible to find common ground. It creates walls where bridges should be. It creates a climate of fear and suspicion, escalating basic policy disagreements into shouting matches and even physical confrontations. We need to bridge these divides and start seeing each other as fellow citizens again, not as adversaries. Because as long as we're busy demonizing each other, we're playing into the hands of those who benefit from chaos. We must remember that unity is our strength. It's a dangerous game. Some leaders are genuinely committed to serving the public good, while others exploit political divisions for their own gain. They use inflammatory rhetoric to stir up anger and resentment. They spread misinformation to undermine trust in democratic institutions. Fear and division are powerful motivators, creating instability that allows these leaders to consolidate power. When people are afraid, they're more likely to accept authoritarian measures. We need to hold our leaders accountable for their words and actions, support leaders committed to unity and dialogue, even when it's difficult. Democracy isn't just about elections and institutions. It's about trust. Trust that our voices matter and that we can resolve differences peacefully. When that trust erodes, people lose faith in democracy itself. They may become disillusioned with traditional political processes and more susceptible to extremist ideologies. This is especially true for younger generations facing economic uncertainty and social unrest. We need to restore faith in democracy by addressing issues like corruption, inequality, and climate change. Show that democracy can still be a force for positive change. Okay, that all sounds pretty grim, right? The news is filled with stories of unrest and conflict, and it can feel overwhelming. But here's the good news. We're not powerless. We have the ability to make a difference, to change the narrative. We can take steps to reduce political violence and build a more peaceful future. It starts with small actions that collectively make a big impact. First, promote a culture of non-violence. This means encouraging peaceful methods of expressing political views. Reject violence as a means of political expression and promote dialogue and understanding. Open conversations can bridge divides and foster mutual respect. Strengthen the rule of law and ensure accountability for those who engage in political violence. Justice must be served to deter future acts of violence. Address the root causes of political violence, such as poverty and inequality. These issues often fuel discontent and unrest. Invest in education, healthcare, and job creation, particularly in marginalized communities. Providing opportunities can reduce the appeal of violent solutions. Empower local leaders and communities to address conflict peacefully. Local solutions are often the most effective. Support grassroots organizations that build bridges and promote dialogue. These groups are on the front lines of fostering peace. Focus on education and youth engagement, teaching the importance of democracy and non-violence. The next generation holds the key to a more peaceful world. Building a more peaceful future requires hard work, compromise, and a willingness to listen. It's about finding common ground and working together, but it's a fight worth having. The rewards of a peaceful society are immeasurable. So let's get to work. Together, we can create a future where political violence is a thing of the past.